Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. T. Wu, an associate professor at the Feliciano School of Business of Montclair State University. MSU is the second largest university in New Jersey with over 23,000 students. And in our graduate program in the School of Business, project management plays an important role. Project management is available as a concentration, which is a part of our MBA program, or individually as a certificate program. Our goals is to provide the next generation of project managers and leaders, and it is ideally suited for those who are looking to switch career and move into project management. For more information, I think the simplest thing to do is just Google us and search for the words project management certificate at Montclair State University. Thank you very much. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Mary Verrone, who is presenting AI art for project and change managers, pixels, projects, and pictures. Creating image is time-consuming and can be frustrating. Stock images often don't convey your message effectively. Now there's a much better option. Use AI for powerful personalized images. In this session, you'll learn about prompt engineering to enhance AI adoption. This knowledge will help you create tailored presentations, training materials, or just LinkedIn banners. The presenter, Ms. Mary Verrone, is an independent consultant with Change Management Pros, and she focuses on enabling rapid adoption of new mindset and ways of working. With 18 years at Mars and extensive Fortune 500 experience, she leads global transformational projects that enhance productivity and user experience. Mary holds advanced ProSeek, PMP, and design thinking certifications, as well as an MS in IT and MBA, and receives PMI New Jersey's Volunteer Q4 2020 Award for exceptional commitment. Let's welcome Mary. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oops. How's everybody feeling? A little late in the day, but that's okay. So welcome to my PowerPoint presentation here. It's AI art for project managers and change managers, and it's called Pixels, Projects, and Pictures. And, oh, I have it twice. Okay, and then this is also a networking event. So make sure before you leave today that you connect with the people at your table. You can connect with each other. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and keep the conversation going. I've learned a lot from LinkedIn groups, and it's really helped me to get better at this. All right, so here's the agenda. The challenge. So for me, and I don't know if a lot of you are also in this situation, but I am often giving presentations, like every day, sometimes several times a day, to executives, project teams, my own team, lots of different people. And my challenge has been not to write the content. I can write the content. And most of my slides only have a couple of bullets. Well, more than two, so maybe 3 or 5. However, I can't get those images right. Now, I've used stock images, but they're not quite the same thing. And that's what we're going to talk about, is that part, the problem, as well as the solution, and then the sustainability piece. So those of you that are change managers, how do you continue to sustain what you've learned? And then lastly, the closing, where we'll talk about the benefits and Q&A. All right, so the challenge, I've talked a little bit about this. I am so tired of stock images, but I'm also tired of making my own images for my presentations. What I really want to do is I want to be able to present an image that tells the story, so I only have a few bullets and everybody in the room gets what I'm saying. I wouldn't say I'm there yet. I'm still a beginner. But I wanted to share my journey so that all of you could learn what I learned and learn from me. I will say that this is definitely a beginner class, and I wasn't able to find a lot of the information. The best I could do was on YouTube, I could find people making funny videos of like cats on skateboards, holding coffee with a flag. Like, I didn't want that. I wanted professional presentations. So that's what you're going to hopefully see today. Oh, the other thing is that I found AI not to be easier. If you are a change manager or somebody who wants to know how users are going to have to go through this when they learn about AI, I found 4 changes for myself. A mindset change. I found that at first it wasn't working for me, so I had to approach AI in a different way. I had to be creative and consider it like a playful event. This is going to be fun. If I expected to get an image that's perfect in 10 seconds, that didn't work. So my mindset had to change. My behavior also had to change. My behavior was that I would go into PowerPoint and I'd put the content in first, and then I'd create an image to match that. And it would take me weeks. And I thought AI was the same thing. So when I first started this in 2023, and I couldn't quite figure out how to do it, and then Microsoft offered Copilot in 2024 in January, I bought it because it's got PowerPoint, right? And then I went to PowerPoint and it didn't work. There's a thing called Designer on the side, but that just changed the slides. When I asked Copilot to help me create images, it said it couldn't. So I said, all right, let me start again. I couldn't get PowerPoint images in time for my presentations, so I decided to work on LinkedIn. So my old LinkedIn, I didn't have the foresight to actually think ahead of time and say, all right, let me take a picture, Mary, in case anybody wants to see what it looked like before. So I tried to mock it up. And what you'll see is that my head has an arrow pointing to it that says old way. And I didn't notice. 3 years ago, a marketing expert pointed that out to me, and I was like, oh. So for 3 years, I've been trying to think of what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to get a graphic designer because I didn't know exactly what I wanted. And one of the benefits of AI is that you can flush out ideas. Even if you don't like what you got, when it generates things, you know what you don't like. And when I first started this, the AI images that I received, probably from the training that AI was trained on, I would get street signs, for example, that were green with white on it, which wasn't ideal for people to be able to recognize. And then there would be 14 street signs on there with a really busy background. So I realized pretty early on that I had to learn how to be specific in what I wanted. I talked about the benefits. It did save on costs, one would say. I paid $30. Yes, I paid $30 in total. So I paid $20 for Microsoft 365 and $10 for Copilot. That's per month. If I paid for a graphic designer, it would have been a lot more, especially because I'm not creative and I didn't really know what I wanted, and I probably would have spent a lot of time with them. This image that you see up there was created with Microsoft Copilot's Designer. And I'll talk a little bit more about Designer, because when I tried to, my behavior, right? I went into PowerPoint, I tried to create an image and it told me I couldn't. I then figured out that if I use a certain tool, that will get me there. So I talked about 2 things so far. I changed my mindset and I had to change my behavior. I had to change my process because I couldn't start in PowerPoint, which I will cover as we go forward. And then lastly, the tool set's different. AI is very different than what we've used in the past. So when I talk about this, I do want to talk about the prompt that I used, because it took me a long time to get to a prompt that actually made sense for AI. So the prompt says create 2 bright signs. Why did I say bright? Because when I first started, AI would create the signs in the shade or sometimes in the grass. I had to say signs on a street post. 1 white blank sign. I didn't want green. And then I had to say that this 1 sign points to the left and 1 to the right. Sometimes when I first did this, the signs would point up or down. Logically in my head, I was thinking, oh, like it knows what a sign is on a street post. AI doesn't know that. You have to be specific. And it took me many times going through this to get it where I wanted it. The last sentence, says the signpost is at a crossroad featuring a serene landscape. I did that because I didn't want all that city stuff. AI loves to throw lots of things in there. And I didn't want them to distract from the sign that I was really trying to get people to look at. It's white. It's a white background on black. That's the easiest thing for people to see, not green. And my last piece of my sentence probably doesn't make sense to you. Featuring a serene landscape with lake blue shade. All right, Mary, why'd you do that? I did that because the tool that I used is Microsoft Copilot, and it had a word count, and I used up the word count. So what did I do about it? I took out filler words. So if you put in filler words, a lake, those type of things, it would make sense to you, but AI ignores the filler words. That was a big learning for me. And I had to learn it myself because there was no information at the time that I really could get. You can see my final solution here. The other thing I would mention that in the big picture, I had to edit it. And this is where I really ran into trouble because I'm not using PowerPoint anymore. I'm using a tool called Microsoft Designer. And I had to, because remember I said I had a sign in the grass? I didn't realize it wasn't going to be on my LinkedIn profile, but I wanted to get rid of the sign. Grass is good. And only in Microsoft Designer can I edit images. And I had struggled with other systems, other Gen AI tools, but I wasn't able to get edits in. Another fun fact, those words that you see, I use Designer for that. The other thing that you'll see in some of the slides that I'm going to show is that words are really hard for AI. And I think maybe it's a training thing or whatever, but even if I put like sponsor in quotes, I get some other language or gibberish. So with Microsoft Designer, I'm able to edit and put things like new way, old way. I don't even bother putting words in. Okay. Interesting information. Our great-grandkids, according to studies, will not read or write. It kind of makes sense though, doesn't it? Someone said in an earlier presentation that when people speak, or if they're face-to-face, that's the best way of communicating. Is text the best way of communicating? Probably not, but I love to read. And this slide basically illustrates what our great-grandkids are probably going to say about us when we manually wrote and actually drew images. Okay, so I talked a little bit about the problem, the solution. And I picked Microsoft Copilot because where I struggle the most is at work. I want to create an image as quickly as possible. And every single company that I've worked for is a Microsoft shop. When Copilot came out, like I said, I bought it in January of 2024. And for this presentation, I'm using Copilot. Have I used other tools? I have. I find for the solution that I need, which is to be able to create images at work, Microsoft Copilot was the best fit. Now, We're going to talk about how to create images. I wish it had like a little laser thing on it. So there's an image there that looks like a sideways tulip. It's called Microsoft Designer. If you want to create images in AI and with AI in like 4 PowerPoints, then that is an image that you want to remember. Sometimes it looks clear. Like if I had a laser, I would look like put it there, that tulip on the side. And what I found was not uncommon to some Microsoft things. I couldn't find it once I found it. So highly recommend, pro tip, bookmark it when you find a designer. I do have a link on here. You can download this presentation now. And if you can't find where that is, let me know because I have it on a LinkedIn post and people can get that URL. I love this image, but it wasn't what I was looking for. I don't know how you all think, but what I really wanted here was a 5-step process. And what I was thinking that would be is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I could add the content. And look what I got. It looks nothing. I don't even have 5 steps here. I don't even know how many I have because there's some that are sideways. But I really I work for healthcare companies, and I like that it has a heart with a heartbeat. I thought that was really powerful for my type of audience. So I added those numbers in, by the way, that I edited that. But I liked that it had data in the background. I'm not really a fan of all the stuff that AI adds, but it has a chart. I talk about charts all the time. I could easily tweak this slide. I don't even have to tweak it, right? I just change what I'm saying and talk about the chart. Now, one of the things that I was just stubborn about, I'm still kind of irked about it, is that I can't get a stethoscope in a diagram. I don't know what it is about the different lines, but AI just can't complete a stethoscope. What I really wanted here was, well, I just wanted a stethoscope in the picture, but you can see that there is one in this image, kind of, right? You've got the part that you put on your heart, but you're missing the part that goes on in your ears. Overall, I was pretty happy with this, and it's not a really long prompt, which was good. Usually they're long, like the first one on LinkedIn. And I can read this prompt, but I don't think it's really needed. Basically, it was very simple because I didn't think that AI was going to give me what it gave me. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about prompt engineering. I know people have talked about it a little bit. The point that I want to deliver today is, how do you walk away from this presentation knowing how to do it without me being able to do a demo? So I'm going to go through the steps that I went through, hoping that that will help you. This slide is basically from Microsoft, and it's 5 bullet points. I have to give Microsoft some credit here. As a change manager, it is really, really annoying when people don't have instructions on how to do things. But Microsoft has a plethora of information out there, and they call it adoption, and it's really easy to find. There's a lot of it, so you have to find what you're looking for, but you can't really go wrong going to their adoption site. Unfortunately, I didn't see, so like I said, I started in January. I didn't find that site until I was like 7 months in. Here are their pro tips that I thought were really relevant for this audience. First of all, an image prompt is the text. It's just text. And an image prompt may sound like especially when they call it prompt engineering, something fancy. I was a little intimidated until I saw it's just text that you provide to Copilot. And then secondly, it can be like that LinkedIn profile, as simple as a few words, at least 6 of them, or it can be a complete paragraph. And you will see there's a prompt in here from a friend of mine that is a really big paragraph. Your prompt can also include information such as stylistic keywords. I know you're probably thinking, what's a stylistic keyword, Mary? At least I don't know what that is. So in my next slide, I will show you what it is, and hopefully that will help you understand what that is. But it is important because AI does need some kind of structure when you're giving it instructions. And then lastly, your structure and format does make a difference. I will say, if you take one sentence and put it in front, like move it around, it didn't make any difference at all. But when I changed that sign to bright sign, it made a big difference, one word. And it helped make the image much, much better. Oh, I knew I was going to have a problem. There we go. All right, this slide took me 10 minutes. And basically what I wanted to show very simply to my audience is that I'm green. Here's my status. I'm on track, I'm on budget, it's green, and I wanted to make it healthcare related. So I used these two, they're not test tubes, what are they called? Medical flasks. But what I really want to tell you about is that I found that Copilot Designer has fill in the blanks. I don't know if when you guys were kids, but we had these, things that we'd fill in the blanks and it made a story. It was a lot of fun. Well, this is when I started with my playful mindset. Now, I did mention the minimal vector style or those stylistic keywords. That's what that is, and that's what it looks like. I am in no way an artist or know anything about design, but with this fill in the blank piece, I was able to really understand, or kind of understand, I should say, what that means. But what's really cool is that I just put in the stuff that I want. 2 medical flasks in a sterile environment showing different levels of liquid, has to be green because I'm green, right? No other images in the background and white colors. Oh, well, now you got a preview. I don't know what's doing. Okay, now this slide shows that same fill in the blank, not filled in by me. So this is what it looks like in Designer. It's really small. You don't need to read it because we just read it. But what I did want to show is that there are 4 slides in here where I use the fill in the blank strategy. I highly recommend if you're a beginner at this and you want to try it, start with fill in the blanks. And now I want to show you how you actually go through it. It is, from a change management perspective, this is what I would call a really great user experience. There are, what, 5 steps? Yeah, 5 steps here. I took a picture of the slide of what you would see. I'm sorry, I didn't take a picture of the slide. I took a picture of what it looks like in Designer. So how I got there, I went to Explore, and the next slide will show you where Explore is. And then the directions on the screen. This is not me, I just took a picture of it. Go to Designer, select Explore Ideas, pick a style, edit prompt, that's the fill in the blank part, and then click Generate. Generate is this button right here. And that's where I saw Explore. I do want to call out one other thing. Right next to Explore, it says My Creations. I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I was downloading every single image that I created. And every time I did one of these, it created 4 images. And I did it many, many times. So to save my computer, I was happy to see that, or my storage, I saw that Microsoft Copilot Designer actually saves it for me, which makes it much easier. I can just click here and see my past creations. Now, we've talked a little bit about fill in the blanks and how to create a prompt from a beginner standpoint. What I just want to show here is that there's a really long prompt under what looks like maybe a Princess Leia kind of picture. So 2 things there. A friend of mine, Jared Matfess, was a man I met at a Microsoft AI adoption community conference in New York City. And he was the only one at the entire conference who could at least guide me on how to create an image. He makes it playful. It's not as professional as I would like it, but I made friends with him and he shared some of his prompts with me. What I found really interesting is that when I took his prompt, I didn't get the same thing. I thought that was really interesting and a little disappointing because if I want to copy an image, like not copy, but if I want to use a prompt that somebody else used to create something, it's probably going to be a little bit difficult, unless I didn't learn that yet part. I mean, I am still going through this piece. I'm sorry? Oh, really? Set up a profile. All right, that's what I'll have to do. All right, the other thing I wanted to point out here is that on that one slide, it looks like Princess Leia. You do have to be careful because you don't want any copyright infringement. So you can see from the prompt that it is stylistic, like future-based woman in the future with some planes in the background, or they're not, they're spaceships. But that's how you can protect yourself from doing something that's copyrighted. All right, so also descriptive words, skip the filler words. So I talked a little bit about like the bright signs, serene lake. Those are the descriptive words that AI needs. And then also I showed you a little bit how you can skip those filler words. And here are some of the filler words. All right, how to create a prompt for an image. These are 5 more points from the Microsoft adoption page. And you'll see that the first one is figure out what you want. And that's where I struggled with my LinkedIn one. I knew I wanted the old way and the new way, but I didn't want that ugly blue sign. And I wanted something a little bit, I don't know, nicer, prettier, something, but I'm very bad at figuring out what exactly it is that I want. So it says, yes, picture in your head what you want, like the 5 steps, but that's not what I got. What I do like about AI is that it actually will help me flush out my ideas because it'll generate things, and then I can be like, no, that's not what I want. Or you know what? I don't like your steps, but I really like that heart with the heartbeat. The second one here, use descriptions and descriptive and relevant words. Again, you could go back to that fill in the blank and look at their samples and come up with what they're talking about. That helped me a lot because to me, bright sign is a descriptive word. No, it's much better if you talk about like colors. I don't even know what, like seafoam green. Like there's certain things that you can do to make things better. And if you're really good at colors, then you know what I'm talking about. The third one, consider the context in which the image will be used and choose what's appropriate. For me, I want professional ones, so I don't want cats on skateboards and things. Avoid using names or specific brands. We talked a little bit about that. And also don't use like Amazon because the AI is not going to spell it right anyway. So I recommend don't even use words. And then the last point here, use multiple prompts if necessary. That was a key thing for me. I didn't realize, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I thought I could do it in like 1 word or 2 words, like I do when I Google something. And that's not the case. You really have to give it a lot of direction. The more, the better. Now, this was a game changer. And I only discovered this in probably about like September of 2024. You can ask AI questions. So you can ask it, what do you want? What do you need from me? And I thought that was really important. So here you can see, I just say something like, I want to create an image with no words. Before we begin, what questions do you have for me? And then AI gave me instructions on what it's looking for. I bet it has stylistic keywords in there too, right? Yeah. But I thought that was good that it asked like funny or serious. I never put that in any of my prompts. And then I started responding with the things that I wanted. So it's another way to get into prompt engineering. We talked about doing it yourself. And then we talked about the fill in the blank. And then now here's another option. You can ask AI itself what you want. And the other thing that I just wanted to point out is that you get a different image every time you put in the same prompt, which I mentioned. The other thing, though, that I really didn't realize when I started was that I have to wait for AI to generate those images. And this was a mindset change for me, that I had to hit that button to generate an image and then go get a drink of water. And if I didn't like those 4 images, I needed to hit that button again and then go to the bathroom. And if I hit the button again and got 4 images that I still didn't like, which that didn't happen in this case, then I went and got a cup of coffee. I am not necessarily a patient person. And for me, this was a behavior change as well, in that I needed to not have high expectations. But I did have to have like a drink of water and step away, because otherwise I'd start working on something else. And at the end of the day, see, I only had 4 images because I never continued the process. Here is the what the site looks like for Microsoft. You can see that they actually have image prompting 101, which I thought was really helpful. And there, like I said, there's a plethora of information at this site. The site URL is here, but you can, if you go to Microsoft.com, you can get to, all you have to do is to type in AI adoption and it'll bring you here. Now, PMI. PMI also has a prompt engineering course, and I found this to be really helpful. So I highly recommend that people who are interested in prompt engineering take a look at it. I will say, even though it's worth 3 PDUs and it says it's an hour, it was not an hour for me. I don't know what kind of learners you all are, but for me, I need to see the prompt direction that they're teaching me, and then I have to try it. And it took me 2 weeks to get through this course. I still highly recommend it. Let me see if the next slide. Okay, wait. So one other thing I wanted to mention that we'll show in another slide is that they recommend that you do a daily prompt log, which I tried, but I didn't do. But if you are that kind of a learner, that might work for you, which I'll show you after this slide. This slide is a lot of fun. You've probably heard already that AI is not accurate. You may have even heard that people, especially IT folks, will say that AI hallucinates. I almost put this slide in the deck. I did not realize, what really caught my attention was that I was looking for people to have business cards. I didn't write down the prompt because this was early on. And then I saw, when I was putting this together for PMI, I saw that the one guy in the gray shirt has 2 business cards on his sweater. I'm like, oh, that's not right. And then I noticed the guy in the middle is wearing a skirt and heels, but what was really disturbing me is that he wasn't looking at the woman he's shaking hands with. Like, who does that? And if you look at the hand that he is shaking, it's like a monster hand. It's black and gray. I don't know where AI got that from. And the lady with the green sweater, sleeve, her fingers are backwards. So there's a lot wrong with this picture. And what I just want to point out is that you do have to check images just as much as you check the content in the context that you're creating, like with ChatGPT or something else. Because hallucinations happen here too. Pro tip, hands seem to be a problem. And I found that even on my very first slide, the hand just looks a little weird, but it was good enough to go in here. This slide was not good enough to actually have as something other than funny. All right, reinforcement. So we've talked a little bit about how you can create images, whether you want to fill in the blank or ask AI what it needs, or you can try it yourself like I did in the first few months of 2024. But how are you going to reinforce that? The daily prompt log is what the PMI course talked about. it didn't work for me, but it probably would work for other people. I did start it. I did do it for about a week, and I logged every prompt that I put in and the results, but it wasn't, it's just not something I really kept up with. Oops. Okay. The other things that you can do, though, instead of a daily prompt log, is what I did. So I talked to Jared, and I continued conversations with him. ProSci, a bunch of change managers after a ProSci course on AI, we met for a few months every Wednesday and talked about AI and learned from each other on LinkedIn. So there are a lot of ways to continue to learning, but I found collaboration to be the best until there's enough information out there to really help you. At the time, YouTube wasn't working. It just, everybody was funny, but nobody was serious. And I really needed somebody serious to help me. Okay, in summary, AI and the process that I went through can be creative, and it can be fun, and it can be frustrating. Have patience with yourself as you go through and try this. For organizations, I highly recommend training because people like me are going to need training. We're going to need to learn the process change. Don't start in PowerPoint, folks, right? You got to go to Designer. The mindset change. Hey, try and make these fun. Make it a creative, playful experience. The behavior change. Don't expect when you hit that generate button to get your image right away. Plan for that cup of coffee. And then practice that prompts and make sure that you always, always, always check to make sure there are no backward hands. All right, so for a poll, keep your hand raised when I say it, but then you can raise it again, lower it again. So how many of you are going to try creating an image this week? Raise your hand. Oh, I love you guys. That's awesome. Good for you. How many of you are going to think of taking the PMI prompt engineering this year? This year. No, I wasn't going to. I told you it took me 2 weeks. Good. That's awesome. It's worth three PDUs too. Number 3, you'll think about it. Maybe I will try creating an image sometime. Good. Raise your hand. That's okay. And my favorite, and I get this one a lot. You know what, Mary, this isn't for me. I'm going to stick with stock images. Who's going to do that? Yeah, there's a few of you. That's fair. You know, maybe your audience, or maybe you're not like me, and you don't want to like spend the time on this stuff, which is kind of crazy, I know. And then focus on something smaller first. Maybe you're just going to practice ChatGPT, and then maybe move to images. How many people think they're going to do that? Okay, good. And then lastly, none of the above. I am not interested, Mary. Really? Oh, okay. Good. All right, so now we're at the Q&A session. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Wait, there's a mic behind you.
Great, thank you. Don't mind if I read this, and please take this constructively.
Sure.
What are the ethical considerations of perpetuating AI practices that will ultimately impact the livelihood of photographers, digital artists, graphic designers, just to get results that are of lesser quality than what a professional would produce?
Yes, very good question. So for a little background, AI needed to be trained. So what that meant was that there were companies that went out and scraped the internet or copied images that were out there. And some of those images were copyrighted. So that's an ethical dilemma, I think, that you're referring to. And there have been lawsuits. Microsoft has been sued several times. Now, Microsoft themselves did not do the scraping. The scraping, that's what they call it, was done by other companies, and then they sold that information to the bigger companies like Microsoft. And in those lawsuits, some artists have been awarded. Others, there's a conversation about whether it's common domain being out on the internet. So yes, I agree that there is definitely a challenge with this, and I hope that they get it fixed because I do think that artists should get credit for work that they have copyrighted.
I guess just to clarify the
Yeah.
question, I meant more so, as we start to go down, because we're at the top of a slippery slope, people will lose jobs, right? Because there's people whose whole livelihood depends on taking stock photos or creating digital art. So this is a slippery slope we're at the top of where those people lose their jobs. I'm just curious if we have a responsibility for ethical considerations as we start to give recommendations like this in broader settings.
Yeah, I think we do. From what I've seen, we've got a ways to go. I mean, I can tell that this stuff is not real. I mean, look at that lady's waist. I think we do have a ways to go, but that is a good concern, and I agree with you. I don't have a solution for that. Any other questions? Oh, sorry. Rick's right behind you with the mic.
What recommendations do you have regarding representing data visually? Like I saw the bleakers with the green liquid, which is great. But if you have like more granular data, spreadsheets, things like that, and you want to maybe up your game in terms of how you represent those things graphically, what recommendations do you have?
So your question is, if I have like an Excel spreadsheet and I want that to become an image like a chart?
Yeah, or a Gantt chart or something that can represent the status of a project.
That's a great idea. I don't know. I can go look that up, but I never thought about doing that. I just, I made 2 little beakers with green fluid in it. But yes, no, I think that's a really good question. I'll have to look that up. Thank you. And see if somebody has a solution. Any other questions? Yes, in the back.
So suppose we're using Microsoft Copilot to generate an images. So then my question to you is, who is the property owner of this image? It is Microsoft or the guy who put in the prompt in the system?
Good question. From what I've heard, and I have not validated this, that when you create an image, there is a tag that is created that shows that it's AI and says it's your name on it. So I don't know if that means if somebody sues that has copied your image, like, I don't know the legal ramifications because I couldn't find anything that actually had like a case of that, but that was my understanding, which I think is very interesting. And you can see that, I think, I heard that it was on the pictures, but I might have cropped it out, that little tag, but I did see tags on there that said AI. So yeah, no, that's a really good question too. Any other questions? No? Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.